Hey, Emily.
Oh, hello. Your scrunchie is on point today,
It's so
Samantha.
fluffy.
But it's meant to be fluffy, right?
Yes,
So it
that's what
should
I
be
love about it.
so fluffy.
My best friend has the same one too.
All right, then. A little matchy BFF bracelet scrunchie kind of thing going on. I like it. Okay. So you have been thinking a lot about learning recently, right? Learning with your
Yeah. So I've been working on this thing that is a mail merge. And you know, I freaking live for mail merge. I just love mail merge. I just think it's so cool. Um,
that alone, I think, needs a round of applause because, there's always there's people like heart surgeons and brain surgeons where I'm like, I'm so glad you love this because I couldn't get into it. And that's how I feel about you and mail merges. I'm so glad
yeah,
you love it.
yeah, I love it. I think it's so cool. And I've been working on um, this project that has given me a chance to use the mail merge skills that I have and add to them. And I think that is such the sweet spot. And I want to talk about that sweet spot with you because I think you have ideas about it too. So I was working on making a mail merge that takes some data out of a system and puts it into a nice Word document, paragraphs and tables and stuff. But then we wanted to have some conditional logic that basically says, if this field doesn't have any data in it, then just don't put it in the table. Like we don't want it to be blank. We want the field to be empty and we want the title for above that where that data goes. That should be just nothing. So in that case, we would just have an empty column, right? But the like next step up from that is to have two tables and have one show that includes that column and one show that doesn't include that column.
Nice
And so I've
solution.
just been thinking about like you can build like increasing complexity. And so you can do like all of this if logic, or you can just have two templates and just say like, well, today I want this template and tomorrow I want this other template. So I love mail merge, and I've done a lot of mail merge, but I haven't had to do a lot of this. Mostly I've used it to just take data out of a system or to take a list of names and put them all into, letters and envelopes and stuff. But this is different. This is like using logic to merge the right data into the right template. And it's just been really cool. And I've just been thinking like, I didn't know how to do that exact thing, but I knew enough about the technology to be able to stretch what I know. And I find that to be so rewarding. And I want more people to get to do that. I think a lot of times with data and tech, people are like, this is a whole bunch of stuff I don't know. Like I'm shut down. Um,
And
and
it is.
I,
It really is a whole
yeah,
bunch of
and
stuff.
and I find myself shut down sometimes, but then every once in a while I'm in the situation where like the thing that I'm building is like 1% more complicated than something I've done before. And
So I
that
have
is
a
where I want
new
to be most of the time if possible.
Yeah. So I have a new, for me, new philosophical outlook on this that I was telling you about. So I've been reading a book called Finite and Infinite Games by James Carse. Very good. I'm like smiling as I learn from it. And, one basic idea in there is that a finite game is played to win, and then it has a beginning and an end.
Mm-hmm.
And an infinite game is played to continue the game and to continue playing and to open opportunities of play up. And I think it's a really nice analogy for learning, that we have discrete pieces of learning that we can acquire and attain and work on, but learning education is an infinite game. It's not ending. We do it in order to open up more possibilities of learning for ourselves and for
Mm-hmm.
others. And that can feel maybe overwhelming if you just look at that part of it. But another piece of this book is to say that an infinite game like that can be made up of lots of finite games within
Mm-hmm.
it. So as we think about our learning, and I think you've done this really well in lots of areas, breaking it down into
Mm-hmm.
little manageable chunks. It kind of reminds me of how I like to approach spreadsheet learning, like in the like 4 easy steps, right? Like think about it, write it down, draw it, like make a list, and then break it down into the pieces that you know what to do and what you don't know what to do. And then the things you don't know, you go out to either learn them or find someone else who can help you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, this game thing reminds me of one of my favorite books, The Overstory,
I
by
don't know.
Richard Powers. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so good. It's one of those cool like books where there's like 6 characters and then their lives end up getting really interconnected, but they kind of start off separately and you don't know how they're
I
gonna.
like those.
And then there's also this whole like subplot about around like environmental justice and tree sits and people who do like a more high risk kind of environmental activism, which is how me and my partner met each other. So that is especially like like very sweet. And it also like came off as being like in the book, like there's just a lot of like tenderness around that kind of activism, which I think can often be people derided a lot, like, oh, you're going to climb a tree and not come down. Anyway, one of the characters in the book is a game designer and makes these really expansive games that kind of go on forever and are kind of like a second, like kind of a virtual reality kind of game where, so I guess more like Animal Crossing or Sims, where you just kind of like are in this virtual world and you just like do whatever you want there within the constraints of that world. And I wonder if like being in a new platform or something for me is kind of like that, of like I just get to explore, what does this button do, what does that do, and you know, what do people want when they play a game like Animal Crossing? You know, like it's can we harness that kind of exploration? You might see your friends there. You might build a new island.
Well, let me ask, I want to ask you a very pointed question that has no answer, but hopefully opens discussion. Software companies that have their own training things, their academies, their universities, you know, they call it the Form Assembly Academy or the Salesforce, you know, Trailhead or whatever it is.
Yeah. And lots of platforms have these.
Yeah, tons of platforms, all with very good intentions to help us learn how to use the technology. But some of them, I think, put a gamification aspect to it, right? Yeah. Earning badges, winning knowledge, maybe is a way to think about it. And I think that I'm really trying to be particularly careful about mixing education in a finite way where there's a winner or a winning versus the objective being to continue your education. And I don't know, how do you feel about like badges and certifications in that framework?
Yeah, well, clearly not, I don't think about them a lot because I haven't gotten a new one in a long time. We're hiring somebody at my job and I looked up one of them to see their profile on that thing. And I was like, oh, I haven't gotten any new badges and like, I can't remember. So it's not that motivating to me in this chapter of my life, but I can remember times where I felt like it really was, or where like I benefited from the learning that I internalized, and I appreciated having an external benchmark of sort of validating that I had completed the learning. But we all know that you can complete the exercise without internalizing the learning. And I know that because I've done it, but I also know what it's like when I really do the learning and I like either take notes or try other things on my own. And of course that I find that to be more rewarding. But I think one of the things that I'm talking about here is that kind of learning can be so sterile because it's not solving real problems that you actually have unless you hit the jackpot and one of those, you know, exercises is an example of something you really need to do. But I love the kind of learning where I'm like trying to do something that is really connected to my goal and I have to learn the missing piece and then I combine the missing piece with what I already know. And then now I've completed my objective and I've learned.
Yeah, I think that's a really wonderful pathway of learning. And we should have many multiple pathways of learning, but the one that you're describing, I think is really impactful and deep. It has long lasting learning embedded in it. And I see questions on in the Twitterverse a lot, like what learning should I do? And
Yeah.
that could be, I want to break into tech. What learning should I do? And like you started the conversation, that's incredibly overwhelming to know that. So guideposts for learning in our work are a really interesting, I think, approach to knowing where to find those next steps in learning. But I've been struggling to figure out, how do I give those opportunities?
Yes.
How do we provide opportunities, and where do we find opportunities for people to learn in this sort of job embedded way?
Yeah. And there's a real mindset shift, which is, I haven't done it before, but I think I can learn it, which is different from I've done it before, and so I know I can do it. A lot of times when people are hiring, they're looking for someone who's done it before and knows that they can do it. And that's okay. But I find it kind of boring sometimes to do things that I 100% already know how to do. And I'm just like, okay, let me just like type it in. There's the same mindset is also like, well, I don't know how to do that thing, so I can't do it. And I'm saying, like, I think it would be really cool for on both sides of the employer kind of wall, like as a applicant or a learner or an employee, being like, I don't know how to do it, but I think I can learn. And then also on the hiring side, like not just looking for people who have done that exact thing, because that person might get bored. Plus, you're gonna need something that you don't know yet that you need.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The unknown unknowns. Yes.
Yeah. And so
that's the fun of learning.
I want everyone to shift their mindset to this like growth mindset, incremental learning, this like what you were saying, the infinite learning game that is like building on what you already know and making it better and more fun, more effective.
And that, I think, specific to data and technology, and probably in every field, but really specific to data and technology, one of the concepts from this book about the games is that finite games, in order to have a winner, need to have a set of established rules, and you can't change the rules mid-game. That's like the definition of unfairness. Like if you change the Monopoly rules midway, how can you establish a winner? It's going to be an argument. The finite game depends on change. It is a core concept of the infinite game the core concept is change, that you are working to rearrange the boundaries to allow play to continue, to not have a winner necessarily.
Or like, and some of these like virtual reality games that I don't really play that much, but it's like, oh no, now there's a storm, or like there's like these like external things that come in and change the game. And
and data tech learning, the change, like it's constant and fast. It is so fast. I wrote a blog post recently that was like, hey, Zapier, you sent an email saying this feature is new and ready, and I had wanted it, so you're like letting me know. And in that blog post, I said, for the life of me, I can't remember why I wanted that feature, and I don't even know if it'll come up or whatever. This week, I used that feature and was thinking, my God, that's so useful. I'm so glad that they let me know that was there. And I did not anticipate that happening, because the game changed around me what I needed and what I needed to learn. So I think, but that's so true of data and technology, really, that the pace of change really means that we need to be players of this infinite game of learning. Okay, so I want to pump something, and it's not a solicitation. I don't want anyone listening to this to purchase this learning. Okay. I'm not soliciting, but I do want to pump this learning, because I know I will do this outside of this example. So I'm developing a course for N10, a course. It's like a workshop, and it's about—
Say what N10 is.
What is it? The facilitator of the nonprofit technology conference?
Yeah, it's like, nonprofit technology organization, cross
Yeah.
sector. It's really, really cool. They have like events and forums and courses, these really cool courses, and they're thought leaders too. They're very good at kind of charting the path for ethical technology for nonprofits.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, and some form of community they go for. So they sell courses, and I'm doing this course here, Learning and Development in Nonprofit Data and Tech. So it has a cost to it, and I don't want to. If you are a member, if you are wanting to get this like certification, then yes, please take this course to do it. But the reason I want to pump it is because it is a work in progress. It is an infinite game in itself. There is no learning that you get at the end that is done. This course is about working together to build learning and development plans that are within an infinite game, that are not like end all be all and ask you to reassess. So for anyone interested, I encourage people to just like check out the description. And again, not to pay money and enroll in the course necessarily, but I would love to talk to more people about this topic. So if you from this conversation, from whatever you read on this course page, reach out and let's talk about learning in nonprofits, data and tech, because I think it will be great conversation.
And you can be on our team of infinite learning game players.
Yes. I mean, please come teach us. I need some more learning.
Come teach us what
Tell me what
learning.
the rules are now, because the boundaries of learning, mine have been expanding. Like I never thought I'd be getting into some of the like programming stuff that I've been doing recently.
Dave, I never thought I would make YouTube videos, and here we are.
Can you please pump your YouTube site though? It's so good.
I started a second channel within my YouTube channel because I'm now making mail merge videos, not only about Conga Composer, but still, I love Conga Composer. I also added Appsona, which is this really, really wonderful mail merge and data manipulation tool for people who use Salesforce. It's so cool. And I'm starting to document how to do more things with Appsona. And just really, I am just so tickled and just want to keep working on it because it's so awesome.
Yeah, and you have to, because it's a huge need. I think a next topic for us, I would love to talk about the role of sharing knowledge and teaching each other within this learning game.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'll see you back here.
Okay. Thanks, Sam.